by Black Box Computer Consulting. They know what's inside.
News Talk 870 WHCU News Time 7:17. It is the Tuesday Morning News Watch. I'm Jeff Dunn in for Dave Beezer, and on the news line with us right now is the congressional candidate in the race for the 24th Congressional District seat. He is Richard Hanna, and it's a rematch, of course, of the 2008 race between Mr. Hanna and the incumbent Congressman Michael Arcuri. And Richard, thanks for being with us again this morning. No stranger to the WHCU Morning News Watch.
No, thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about where things stand with the campaign at this point. I know that you were just in the last week and a half or so, you were in Cortland. You had an appearance in Dryden at the Dryden Hotel. And is it my imagination, or am I seeing you out more within the entire district as opposed to 2008?
Absolutely right. I'm trying to do a much better job of getting out there to this huge and sprawling district. It's 11 counties and, of course, dozens of small towns, and I want to visit every one of them, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And what are you hearing from the people as you visit all these towns and locations?
People are afraid, in a word. They are concerned about their country's future. They know that there are structural problems in our economy. I think people aren't economists, but they understand that there are what used to be kind of cyclical problems in an economy seem to be more structural, long-term, and they've lost a lot of confidence in the ability of our government to fix itself. And so, scared is one word, alienated and abused are two others, but it's a pretty common theme out there.
And in a nutshell, you basically are saying that we need more business people in Washington.
Well, that's kind of... that is what people say generally. I do believe that. I don't rail against attorneys or anything like that. It's not about that. I think we need to understand how this country was created, where value is created, where jobs are created, and ultimately who pays the bills. It's the consumer, and of course that means it's the businesses that give them their jobs. And you cannot continually burden businesses and the consumer and their employees and expect government to grow at the rate that it is. It's just not sustainable.
This was in 2008 one of the closest elections in the country, and I'm curious as to how you are approaching this election. What did you learn from that election 2 years ago, and are you employing those practices in the 2010 campaign?
I learned that it's still a very much a game for incumbents, that it is difficult for any outsider to break into high office, particularly something as high as a congressional seat, and that the odds are fairly well stacked against you, and a lot of that comes from the fact that there's so much money out there that goes just naturally towards the incumbent, and that makes it difficult, of course, name recognition, but I think it can be done, or I wouldn't be doing it again. And we did have the closest race in the United States against an incumbent, and we were outspent by hundreds, I think $600,000. And frankly, I didn't know the business of running for office. I'd never done it before. So, my wife calls me the #1 loser in the country, which doesn't feel good, but we both get a laugh out of it.
There you go. Now, just recently, you didn't seek it, but you got the endorsement from, talk about name recognition, from a very high name recognition, former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani.
Yes, we did, and I'm happy with that. I've never sought out endorsements before. Last time, nobody thought I had a chance. Nobody was eager to jump on board with me, and I never asked, to tell you the truth. But this time, it's a whole different race. And there's good and bad in that. I haven't sought out anyone's endorsement. I like Mr. Giuliani, and he offered, and I accepted.
We are speaking with Richard Hanna, the Republican candidate for Congress in the 24th District against incumbent Michael Arcuri. And Richard, I know that the big talk in Washington has been the fact, should these tax credits be extended, whether they be extended for the rich, they should be extended for the middle class, or for everybody. And where do you fall in that debate, and should this be addressed in the lame duck session coming up?
No, I don't think it should be addressed in the lame duck session. I think I know that I'm somewhat different than my party on this line. I think that everybody in this country pays too much, but let's face it, our economy is built around the middle class. If I had an opportunity to compromise and pass forward the middle class tax cuts, I would certainly do that. If I had an opportunity to pass forward all of them, I would do that. But let me say this: ultimately, the problem with tax cuts is they have to be paid for someplace, and deficits in this country are a symptom of our spending disease. So that I don't see how you can have a one-sided conversation. If you want to cut taxes, I think that, of course, everyone does. I do too. I think ultimately, though, you have to ask the very hard question of where are you going to get the money? We cannot continually mortgage our future. You know, we've become a country that spends more than it earns. We import more than we export. We borrow more than we can pay back. We're mortgaging our future. And, you know, to sit around and talk about tax cuts, I think is great, and that's what I'd like to see. But I also want to know how they're going to be paid for. I think the Democrats and the Republicans have it somewhat wrong. The Democrats want bigger and more expensive programs. The Republicans talk incessantly about tax cuts. Well, I want to know how they're going to be paid for. We just can't go down this fiscal path. We have spent our parents' money, our money, and now we're working on our kids, and you know that's why I'm doing this.
And another issue that has come up of late is that the issue of privatization of Social Security. Many thought that this issue had been dead.
I think it is dead. It is for me. It's not something I'm interested in doing. I know that that's the common recipe around the country for fighting against Republican candidates, and I have the independent endorsement and conservative endorsement also. But no, it's nothing I've ever promoted, nothing I'm interested in doing, and nor is it something I would be interested in doing.
So you will be clearly, if you were to be successful, clearly in the minority in your party.
Yeah, that's okay. I've been the minority in my party for a while. I don't fit the demographic of what people have become to think of the Republican Party as, and I'm comfortable with that, very comfortable. I actually think that the Republican Party needs to be more inclusive, a little less judgmental on the left, and rather on the right, and that's where I fall. And I'm a moderate person. I'm interested in rebuilding our economy. I'm interested in getting back to the basics of understanding the American business and the American entrepreneur is who built this country, and that's who will rebuild it. I mean, this country's been magnificent for a lot of reasons, and I think we're moving away from some of those. And that doesn't mean for a moment I'm not empathetic or sympathetic with people. I absolutely am, but I want to build long-term sustainable systems that provide for all those things that we all want to do. And I think when you have these 2- and 4-year cycles, and we are promised what we want to hear, and we re-elect the same people year in and year out, that we have allowed ourselves to build the systems in our society that simply aren't sustainable. I am a guy who is president of our local community foundation, and I've started a fund for women and girls called Annie's Fund. It's run by the Women's Fund. And, you know, I'm not a hard-edged person, and so, yeah, I don't fit my party exactly.
All right, we'll have to leave it at that. He is Richard Hanna, running for Congress for the second time in the 24th District against incumbent Michael Arcuri. And we should note that Congressman will be with us in the next hour, in the 8 o'clock hour here on WHCU. Mr. Hanna, thank you again for joining us this morning.
And thank you for your time.